Hey folks, in this video session I want to walk you through how to get started using Dreamweaver CS6, and what we're going to cover in this video session is just simply your welcome screen and your workspace layout. So when you first launch Dreamweaver, you're going to come across the welcome screen, and you can turn it off if you want to by going down here to Don't Show Again. However, I personally like to leave it on. It gives me access to all the recent items that I've worked with, and if there's something up here that I don't have that I need to work with, I can always click Open and then find the file. I can also create a new HTML page, CSS page, those two I use quite a bit, or if I actually want to create a web page that has a fluid layout that will work across a desktop and mobile devices, I can click that, or even start a Dreamweaver site which allows me to sort of manage it, and we're actually going to get to that a lot later. There's also some access to some videos if you need to learn how to do something. Those are right here for you, as well as a few features down here like getting started and some resources, all these things there to sort of help you out. So it's kind of a nice thing to have, and I encourage you to leave it up there, but if you don't, just simply click on Don't Show Again and move on. So let's go ahead and move from the welcome screen and into an actual Dreamweaver page. So whenever you first launch Dreamweaver, it may open up inside this mode. This is your workspace layout. And before we kind of get into the specifics, let me show you how you can sort of change this up. Up here at the top, you will see your menu items. And right over here where it says Window, simply click on it and drop down to Workspace Layout. And what this is going to do is that it's going to select sort of pre-made panels that are best suited for these different types of workspaces, and then sort of arrange your workspace for you. Think of it as sort of a template. So for example, one of the ones that I personally like to use, and that you're going to see quite a bit inside of my videos, is I like to use the classic mode. I believe the default is the designer mode, which is what you see now, but I'm actually going to change it to classic mode, so I'm going to select classic. By doing so, it opens up new panels and new windows that weren't necessarily there before. So let me sort of walk you through this. Again, this is one that I really enjoy working with. One of the reasons why I like working with the classic mode is that whenever I do that, up here at the top, this gives me access to a lot of the features that Dreamweaver has through a bunch of different tabs. If I select the Common tab, I have access to insert an image, I can insert a table, insert hyperlinks and so forth, as well as horizontal rules. These are all presets that all I have to do, that anytime I want to work with something or add it to a page, is simply put where I want my mouse to be, and then click on the item, and it will automatically add it to the design page. If I clicked on layout, again, I would have different options that I can just click to add, as well as media and so forth. You can also find a lot of these things up here in this menu as well, but I just really find with the classic mode it makes it a whole lot easier. Now over here on the right side, this is a panel that opens up with the classic mode, and I also believe it opens up with the designer mode. I'm not quite sure, but it gives me access to all my cascading style sheet styles, which you'll be learning about. It also shows me all the files associated with this website, and we'll talk more about managing websites later on. But it has this really nice feature for you. You can always hide these panels by clicking on the arrow in the upper right, and it simply moves it over and kind of brings you to more of an icon-based navigation. Right here inside of this window, this is where you're going to be coding. This is where you're going to see the work that you're doing, and you can always change the view by selecting the view mode over here. So for example, we have 4 different options: code, split, design, and live. If I select code, it takes me to where I only see the coded view. The one I prefer to use is split mode, because it allows me to code on the left and see the result on the right. It's very rough, but I can do it that way. And what I also like about this particular view is that if I do something in the design side, if I were to change this word, awesome, whatever changes I make in the design side will automatically be adjusted inside the code, and vice versa. So I'm going to change this back to approved. And now when I click over here, you'll see the changes take place. Now one of the things that I really like about the split view is that even though you have all this code over here on the left, you can easily get lost in it. I think this particular page has over 548 lines of code. Ouch! So what happens if I need to make a change to the code, but I don't want to dig through all that? Well, what's really nice about Dreamweaver is that I can highlight the portion in the design mode that I want to change, and it will automatically take me to the coded portion inside the code mode. which is really great. And it also works from this side. So let's say that I highlight this particular section. It will automatically take me there inside the design side. So it's a really great feature to help you really maneuver this well. Now, your design mode simply just brings you back to the design. It doesn't show you access to the code, but you can still work in it. This mode is really good. The design mode, whether you're here or inside the split, the design side, this is really good for when you need to do things like make text changes. You can add things like images directly here from your menu tabs. You can add things and it will automatically be added to the code. So sometimes it is nice to work in this mode, especially if you have a lot of text that you need to go through and type, because it's easier to type it inside the design mode than it is necessarily inside the code mode. Now, this last view is the live view. Now, whenever you do this, it's going to render your page using the WebKit, which is basically what Safari uses. It allows you to see an almost perfect example of what you can expect inside the browser. But again, you have to understand that all browsers work a little bit differently. So there may be a few things that are sort of off. It just depends on the browser. So it's not going to be 100% exact, but it's a whole lot better than the design mode. So I do use it sometimes, especially when I'm working with a lot of CSS3 elements, things that have effects. I want to see how those effects look without necessarily having to go publish the page. Now, speaking of publish, let me go ahead and turn this live view off by clicking on that live, and it takes me back to my design mode. Whenever you want to publish a page to see what it's going to look like inside of a browser, what I really like about Dreamweaver is the ability to click on this globe and tell it to preview in whatever browser I have selected. Now, if the browser I want is not up here, or if I want to add a browser, I can always go down to the Edit Browser list. And once you get there, you would click on the plus sign, give the browser a name if you want to. I would simply call mine whatever browser it is, and then I would simply browse for it on my computer, looking for the application, and so forth. And once I hit OK, it would basically add it to my list. So I'm going to cancel out of this. So anytime I want to render this page in a different browser, I can simply select it. And this is a really nice feature because I highly recommend that you never just preview your page in just one browser. There's always going to be some slight discrepancies, and you need to go ahead and verify that whatever discrepancy there is, it's not going to be major enough to cause a major change in your code. So something to look into. And so now down here at the bottom, we have what's called the Properties panel. And what the Properties panel does is that any item that I select inside my window, it'll automatically tell me the properties of it down below, and I can change it. I can change the class. I can change the format from a heading to a paragraph. I could add a hyperlink to it, all right here. I could link to a specific page. So there's a lot of different things that I can do. If I happen to select on an image, it'll bring up all the properties of that image. It tells me where it's located, that image source is located, which I can then change. It'll give me what link that it's hyperlinked to. It'll allow me to change the alt tag. I can also change the dimensions of its width and height right here. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with Dreamweaver, and all this is designed to help increase your production flow. Now, do I recommend that you use these, or do I recommend that you stay inside the code? I recommend that you learn how to do both. Knowing how to do this side is very good. It makes your production flow a little bit faster. However, you really need to understand what the code is doing, because by understanding the code, you will be able to quickly troubleshoot what's going on. So it's really a good idea that you learn how to do both. Code so that you understand the troubleshooting and how it works, and then these other tools simply increase your production flow. And so that's really how to get started with Dreamweaver. I hope it makes your process a little bit easier getting started. And keep in mind that as we do get into the specifics of your projects, we will get into the more specifics of the actual program.